Hey guys, it's Coach Danner, and I just wanted to touch on a topic, make this video real quick for you guys on objections. Because in this Beachbody business, there is no doubt that objections are going to take place. And that's something that everybody has had to deal with, has had problems with, has struggled with. No matter if you are a top coach now or if your coach is just starting out, at some point you have struggled with objections. And you will still struggle with objections, but that's why we have each other, right? Because you got to be able to use each other as a team, as having an upline, so that you can work on this together and you can go through these objections. Use the tools that are provided for you. Obviously, you can find some in the Beachbody in the back office, but I just want to kind of share with you guys how I handle some of the different things. One thing that I did realize real quick, and you're going to hear people say this a lot, is you are going to hear no a lot. And that is okay, because that means that you are talking to people. And the more people that you talk to, the more yeses you will eventually get. So I want to encourage you in that way. You've heard of the book, Go for No. There's a reason that it's called that. They want you to continue to ask people and talk to people about this, because if you're getting no, that means that you're talking about it. And when you're talking about multi-level or network marketing, that's the way it works. You have to be able to talk to people. So don't be afraid of the word no. I guess first thing that comes to my mind too, when I think of objections, is family. Because obviously as you come into this business, you're going to have your warm market, your family, your friends. And we think to ourselves, you know what? I know a ton of people who are going to want to do this. They'll listen to me, or they're my family, they're my friends. They'll jump on board. And I'm here to say that those are probably the hardest people to talk to. For whatever reason. I know the reason, because you are doing something new. You have decided to take on a venture, and it is out of the ordinary probably from what you were doing. So people see that, and it's different. People don't react well to change, and change is one of the things I want to talk about as we talk about objections, because essentially you are trying to get people to have a change of mindset when you're talking about Beachbody, because we're talking about health and fitness and healthy food and healthy eating and exercise and all these things that the world just is not used to doing, especially if you've come from a place where you had to lose a bunch of weight. You obviously at one point were not that picture of health, and now you all of a sudden are. Because when you lose that weight, you feel better. You start to see the value in what you're doing, and you want to share that with other people. And that's what takes time to help people understand, because the number one objection buster for me is be a product of the product. That doesn't mean you have to be at your ultimate goal, but that means that you have to be working on it. You have to be doing your Shakeology. You have to be doing your workouts every day. You have to push play, because if you expect people to listen to you, they've got to believe that you care about what you're doing. And the way that you show that is by being a product of the product. You put in that workout, you talk about how much you love it, you do that shake, talk about what it's doing for you. Nothing busts objections better than your personal story and your personal walk. If you're not doing the products and you're trying to talk to people about them, they're going to sense that you don't believe in what you're doing. That is the number one objection buster, is belief. And I know you guys are probably looking for specifics here. So, time is going to be one. That's probably not the biggest one. We'll get to the biggest one here in a second, but time is going to be one of the bigger objections. Well, obviously Beachbody is doing everything they can to bust that one, just with T25 and P90X3, the 21-day fix. All these programs that are coming out are 30 minutes or less. So when we start talking about not having enough time, one, you have a program that you can provide somebody that is time efficient. But number two, when people start talking about time, there's two people you got to understand that you're talking to. When you talk to an individual, you're talking to their analytical side, the person that's going to see the bottom dollar, see the time, and they're going to make up their mind that they can't do it. Then you have the emotional side, and that's who you really want to reach out to. And the way that we do that is by asking questions. So when somebody gives you the objection of time, then simply ask them, I get that. I'm busy too. Why don't you explain to me what makes it so hectic for you? Start to get to know them. That's when you ask questions, you have the opportunity to listen. The more information that you get by listening to the person you're talking to, the more personal it's going to become, the better chance you're going to have to increase the value of what you're offering them and decrease that cost, because the cost isn't that big a deal when they realize that it can work for them. A lot of times people are afraid that they're going to put a bunch of money into something and they don't trust that they are going to follow through with it. And that a lot of times that you got to understand is where that insecurity is coming from. So if you can continue to add value to what you're offering and show that you care about them, then that cost is going to start to look smaller and smaller. Shakeology, the number 2 objection I want to talk about is money. People are going to say, I just don't have enough money. And it's not something, any of these objections are not something that you are going to be able to argue about with people, but you have a couple ways that you can approach that. You share your story. You say, and this is a Tommy Migrant reference, or Danny Johnson reference, I think is where he got it. So, this keeps going up the line. But I don't know about that. All I know is it makes me feel great. It's taken away all my cravings. For me personally, when I started doing Shakeology, I'd already lost 65 pounds. I started taking it because I wanted to be healthy. I wanted something in my body that I knew was going to be used, make my body work efficiently because of the nutrition and the nutrients that were going into my body. So for me, when I started taking it, the biggest thing that I noticed, it took away my cravings. So that's the story that I use more often. I don't tell people I lost 65 pounds with Shakeology. I tell people that it's helped me maintain my weight, but more importantly, it's taken away all my cravings. Because I am a super sweet tooth. Used to love M&Ms and licorice, Twizzlers. I can't even eat. I walk by a bowl and I would eat the whole thing. If I get a handful in, it's already too sweet. So for me, that's where I can share my story. Now I can also share other people's stories. I don't know anything about that. All I know is it helped my buddy lose 75 pounds, and he was a big guy. And when he went to the doctor, his numbers, his cholesterol, his blood pressure, all these numbers were off the charts. Then he went back 6 months later. The only thing he changed was he started taking Shakeology, and his numbers were perfect. The doctors even laughed at him because they couldn't believe it. So you tell me, is that $4 a day that he spent doing his Shakeology, was it worth it? Absolutely, because he got healthy. He was no longer at risk for a heart attack or for some of these other things that obviously could be very hurtful. So for him, $4 a day was not a high price to pay. So you have to start looking at the person's situation, ask the questions, make it personal to them, and then it will be much easier for you to handle those objections. I think the other one is time, commitment. Don't want to overcommit. People don't like to overcommit. Well, yeah, because they're not positive it's going to work. So you ask them, what is it? What would the right balance look like for you right now? What does overcommitment look like to you? And then what does balance look like to you? And let's see if we can find a way to make that work. And I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but talking about money and Shakeology, you've heard it before. I've heard it, and I think this is a great idea. Offering people 3-day, 5-day, or 7-day samples of Shakeology. Just ask them to cover your costs, pay the $5, because most people, they hear $130 for Shakeology, and that's a lot of money when you just hear $130. That's the analytical person that we're talking to, right? So if you're able to appeal to him by saying, you know what, why don't you try 7 days for $35? Even though he's paying the same amount of money, per serving, all he hears is $35 and says, you know what, I can do $35. Let's try 7 days. But once they do 7 days, because it takes about that 5 to 7 days for the system to kind of get cleared out and get to the point where it's absorbing the nutrition and the nutrients. But then when you get to that 5 or 7 days, you start to feel the energy. You start to sleep better. You start to notice cravings going away. You start to notice these other things. So you get to 7 days, you're like, you know what, I want to keep doing this. I like it. I like the way I feel. And then you can talk about it, because now you've increased the value of that product for him, and that price per day does not seem as much as it used to. So I guess that would be my main message as we go through this. Think about the two people you're talking to, because even think about yourself. When you are hearing something for the first time and all you hear is a dollar amount, you make one decision. But when you start looking at it and say, oh, well, hey, this tool would save me 3 hours a day. It doesn't really matter what cost it is. We all want more hours in our day, right? So it's now become personal to you, emotional to you. You see the value in that, and that price is no longer as big of an issue. So you have to work around those things very sensitively. But I'm confident that you can do it. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you out. And obviously, each situation is going to be a little different, because not every one situation will be the same. They'll be similar, but you're always going to have different life situations. So That's why you have to listen. That way you can make it personal to them. If you have any questions, reach out to me and we'll go from there. Have a great day.